Known to mankind as the oldest civilization to roam the earth, the ancient Egyptian civilization, a crossover of multi-layered heritages that form a unique hybrid cultural Egyptian identity. One of the main factors that have influenced this identity is religion. Whether it is the polytheistic ancient Egyptian religion, Coptic Christianity, or Islam, these religions have had direct manifestations and impact on Egyptian architecture. The typologies of buildings, their architectural styles, have all evolved and developed based on these different religions, and particularly on the belief in the afterlife. Let me show you how. The Old Kingdom, infamously known for building the pyramids. But let's question, why did they build these architectural treasures, and why were they manifested in their tombs? The answer lies in their religion and belief system. With the belief in the afterlife and that their souls would be reincarnated to live in their tombs, they invested more in the places of the dead than the living. They built necropolis such as Saqqara with the stepped pyramid to bury King Zoser. They surrounded the stepped pyramid with other royal tombs in the shape of smaller pyramids. Buried underground to protect their souls and treasures to the afterlife, they introduced the most memorable architectural feature, 3D carved hieroglyphic inscriptions. This was prominently influenced by their fear of judgment by the gods before their souls could pass into the afterlife. They carved inscriptions from the Book of the Dead to protect against judgment by gods. These hieroglyphs were also depicted the lives they lived, portraying them as great rulers so that they may be later rewarded in the afterlife, as we can see in the tomb of Meriruka, with him supervising the slaughter of the hippopotamus to protect the people. The Great Pyramids of Giza, Khufu, one of the 7 wonders of the world, Khafra, and Menkaure are another testimony to how their belief in the afterlife gave rise to the Great Pyramids. With the aim of reaching towards the sun and the sky, one of the great gods, it is said that the height of Khufu at 146.4 meters is the same distance from the earth to the sky. In ancient Egypt, but this time during the Middle and New Kingdoms, with the same belief in the afterlife and having learned from their ancestors, the Middle and New Kingdoms began building temples carved into the mountains instead of the pyramids. Moving the capital to Thebes, the kings such as Ramses II built the Temple of Luxor, which was one of the few temples not dedicated to the gods actually, but to the kings. Still, Ramses II built another mortuary temple. His successor and son Ramses III built his mortuary temple in the city of Habu. A mortuary temple itself is used for worshipping the king even after his death, as his soul still lives on in the afterlife, and also to worship the great god of that king. These temples are marked with hieroglyphs to commemorate the acts of the king. The Temple of Hatshepsut was another mortuary temple dedicated not just to Hatshepsut, but also to the ancient Egyptian great god Amun. In the Valley of the Kings, the magnificent tombs housed hieroglyphic inscriptions to protect the soul and portray the journey of the afterlife. One interesting example is the 12 monkeys represented in the tomb of Tutankhamun to show the 12 hours taken by the soul to ascend to the sky. Another prominent continuing feature is the Starry Night, which is said to keep the soul company when it comes back to life. These beliefs were shared not just by the kings, but also by the common people of ancient Egypt. In Deir el-Medina, while the tombs are smaller, they are still protected by inscriptions from the Book of the Dead. A new era, marked by monotheism, Coptic Egypt. With a shift towards monotheism during the end of the Greco-Roman period and the start of the Coptic era, temples began to transform to churches for the worship of a single god. Architecture and iconography began to evolve based on the new belief system. Examples of continuity can be seen in the hypostyle hall, inspired by the Karnak, which is the largest hypostyle hall in the world, in the plan of the churches, such as the Hanging Church. Iconography in architectural decoration first mixes between ancient Egyptian motifs, such as the Ankh, the key of life, with a cross, and a Roman Corinthian column with a cross. These later developed to purely Coptic motifs, influenced by Christian and biblical stories, depicted in glass mosaics and inscriptions on churches. Many churches, such as the Cave-in Church, were based on the belief that this was the place where the Holy Family stayed during their escape from Beit Lahm. the introduction of the last monotheistic religion, Islam, the architecture shifted once more. Mosques were built as a place of worship to God. The era of the Ptolemies witnessed the construction of the third oldest mosque in Egypt. The Malwiya minaret is one of the mosque's most prominent features, inspired by the spiral minaret of the Great Mosque in Samarra. To honor God, Kufi Quranic bands are featured around the mosque, and hypostyle colonnades adorn the prayer hall, a continuation of ancient Egyptian architecture. The three distinguishing features of Islamic architecture replace hieroglyphs and iconography, since figular imagery is banned in Islam. Complex geometry to symbolize fear of God, the arabesque or scroll as a symbol of wisdom of God depicted in the Quran, and calligraphy as an icon of knowledge. The concept of constructing mosques in itself as a house of worship to God is based on the principle that Muslims must perform the ritual of prayer to be rewarded in the afterlife. Believing to be descendants of Fatima al-Zahra and Ali ibn Abi Talib, the Shia Fatimids focused on the theme of light. White mosques such as Aqmar, Azhar, and Al-Hakim were constructed. White marble and stucco replaced the traditional stone. Calligraphy and inscriptions began to feature both Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and Ali, such as this example from the Hakim, combining both their names within the Star of David. Shifting again from Shia to Sunni Islam, the Mamluks introduced a new typology of building to reinstate Sunni Islam, the madrasa. Such as the Madrasa of Sultan Hassan, it features a central court around 4 imams, each dedicated to one of the 4 schools of jurisprudence. Returning back to the concept of the afterlife, they built their mausoleums or tombs within the madrasas or mosques so that their souls would be linked with the pious acts of praying and learning the Quran. The 3 elements of Islamic architecture, geometry, calligraphy, and arabesque, are taken to a whole new level during the age of the Mamluks. With that, the evolution of the unique Egyptian architecture is proved as a multi-layered direct manifestation of the multiple religions that Egypt has witnessed and their belief on the afterlife, with certain elements continuing, such as the great hypostyle hall, while others new, such as the Coptic iconographies, and the new typologies such as the madrasa. The evolution of Egyptian architecture is a unique blend of religions and cultures.